on Joynews Prime. With just 14 days to election 2020, the campaign trail is heating up. Today's campaign witnessed attacks and counterattacks. President Akufo-Addo accuses John Mahama of creating the biggest economic mess in the country.
Political leaders who created an economic mess with the worst statistics of modern times are telling us today that they are leaders we can trust. Trust to do what?
John Mahama fires back, saying corruption tag put around the neck of his government by the New Patriotic Party. Now, the governing party is swimming in corruption.
The time we're in office, they tarred us with a brush of corruption. And they made so much noise about it. Today, the president is bathing in corruption.
Nana Kunedu Rawlings is still in the race to the Jubilee House as NDP rubbishes media reports that she has opted out. The NDP is accusing the NDC of exploiting the demise of a Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings.
Today, the political henchmen who were utilized for such diabolic assignments have been rewarded with high positions in the NDC. And John Mahama and those who picked up the baton are also expecting big posts under a Mahama government.
And in business,
the Bank of Ghana has been citing the economic instability and threats of COVID-19 to the main reasons why it maintained the policy rate at 14.5%.
Imports have generally declined, and if there is import demand compression, then you expect that will translate into a lower demand for foreign currency. So yes, that's also part of the story for the cedi stability.
And later this evening on this channel, we will bring you a story of greatness. We'll tell you the phenomenal, sustained and impactful life of the National Chief Imam of Ghana, Sheikh Osman Nuhu Shaributu. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Joynews Prime is coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle here in Accra on your digital terrestrial TV, because we are free to air. Also on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is the home of independent, fearless, credible and impactful journalism. Many thanks for choosing us. We begin with election headquarters because 13 days to election 2020 and the campaign trail is blazing hot. President Akufo-Addo has accused the opposition NDC for creating the biggest economic mess in the country. He says a vote for the NDC and John Mahama will witness the return of doomsday, recession and general hardship. At a mini rally at Odumase in the Lower Manya constituency of the Eastern region, Nana Akufo-Addo said the NDC has lost the trust of Ghanaians, adding no amount of propaganda will change that.
Political leaders who created an economic mess with the worst statistics of modern times are telling us today that they are leaders we can trust. Trust to do what? To take our economy back into doomsday, to take our economy back into recession, to take our economy back into hyperinflation. Is that what we need? Is that the leadership of the country that we need? We're looking for different leadership. We're looking for leadership that is going to bring progress and prosperity to our country, not backwardness and false claims. I came here to ask you one question. You have seen my work for the last 4 years. You have seen my work. If the work is satisfactory, if you find the work has been satisfactory, what I'm asking you here, Manya Krobo, to do, give me the opportunity to continue to do my work and give the 4 more years for Nana.
The Lower Manya constituency is one of the strongholds of the NDC in the Eastern region. Speaker after speaker, including former General Secretary of the party, Kwabena Japan, wants the people to change their voting pattern.
The NPP are better managers of our economy than the NDC.
We are voting for the progress of the country this year.
2 weeks now watching the Epese obia sorry wa problem mu ha say. Na mo boa mo nuanu ma apamenya. Ni ade yi no so ka on lo.
Let's vote for the NPP to win Krobo seats for the very first time in the history of this country.
Still in the camp of the NPP, the party is hopeful it's cursed to win 1 million votes, and 30 out of the 33 seats in the eastern region is on course. President Akufo-Addo, who expressed optimism, says his good works across the country will result in an emphatic win for him in the December 7 general elections, just 2 weeks away. At the start of day 2 of the eastern regional tour at Eburi, Nana Akufo-Addo says the NPP has the blueprint for the country's development, hence the need for it to be retained in government for another term.
We have laid the foundation for the future prosperity of Ghana. The new patriotic party has the blueprint for the development of our country. And by the end of my second term, that matter will be settled. The magistrate can say 2016, the Swami said, Babylon to a man who said, I'm first of all, Babylon to a man who mamma, but to be boom and money.
And now to the NDC camp, the National Democratic Congress presidential candidate John Dramani Mahama says despite a corruption tag put around the neck of his government by the then opposition New Patriotic Party, the governing party is now swimming in corruption. Speaking at an evening community engagement in the Bogatanga East constituency, he cited the Japa deal and the PDS deal as justifications for his claims. Earlier in the Ashanti region, a health walk in memory of the former President Jerry John Rawlings climaxed his tour of the region. Maxwell Agbagba has a wrap from the former president's campaigns.
An Asawasi constituency health walk in memory of party founder and former president Jerry John Rawlings was the last activity that ended NDC presidential candidate John Mahama's tour of the Ashanti region. His message, especially in some mining communities, focused on freeing persons jailed for galamsey as part of the mining sector reform. He said the NDC will improve the free senior high school program, but will abolish the double track system within a year and rather focus on building more schools. In farming communities, he has been promising farmers free fertilizers. John Mahama has also been touting the infrastructural record of the party in the Ashanti region, citing the KJTIA market and others, stating the NDC will do more if elected. Corruption featured prominently during his visit to communities over the weekend. At Mampon, he told electorates the NDC will act on the findings of the special prosecutor on the Japa deal if persons who illegally benefited from it do not return the money if NDC wins.
We are moving to the Upper East region right now, so ahead of me you can see the convoy moving. We were in the Ashanti region earlier today, where there was a walk organized by the NDC in the Asawasi constituency. What we've noticed is that as you begin to move from the greater Accra region, the compliance, the wearing of the face masks really begins to diminish. In the Ashanti region where we were, I took particular notice of that in the Ashanti region, not many people were wearing their face masks. And as we continue to move in further to the northern part of the country, to the Savannah region to the northern region and now to the Upper East region, not many people, are wearing the mask, and that is actually having a trickling effect actually at those community engagements where the NDC presidential candidate has been speaking. So for many of the places that we visited, the members of the campaign team, those who are with the convoy, those who are with the campaign team, you see all of them wearing their face masks. The only time you see them taking off their face masks is when they are coming to interact, with the people who are gathered. That's the only time you see them remove it. And even when they are about to speak, the microphones are sanitized before they talk. But quite disappointingly though, the people who come to listen to the message that they have for them really are not adhering to the COVID-19 protocols.
Part of his speech focused on corruption in the Bolga East constituency Sunday evening.
All you see is corruption. At the time we were in office, they tarred us with the brush of corruption. And they made so much noise about it. Today, the president is bathing in corruption. And I say that because the allegations of corruption are of people close to him. And that's why I say he's bathing in it. You can be president, there might be a CEO or something who does something, you probably are not aware, but when you become aware, you must take action against it. But when you take cases like PDS, and you hear his own brother and his cousin and others discussing how to distribute shares of PDS, then the president is bathing in corruption. We have their voices on tape discussing how somebody should reduce his share so that they'll see how to share the thing. And the guy said, I won't reduce it. I won't go below 40%. We all heard that on the tape. As if that was not enough, then you have Ejapa. And everybody associated with Ejapa is close to the president or his senior associates. And the Office of the Special Prosecutor has released a damning report on Ejapa. And so when we say the president is bathing in corruption, we literally mean he's bathing in corruption. But we're on a rescue mission.
Sunday was the birthday of John Mahama's running mate, Professor Nana Jane Opukwajiman. This is how he celebrated her on the last day of his tour of the Ashanti region.
Happy birthday, man. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
And from the NDC's camp back to the NPP, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, says the propaganda by some people that the Nana Akufo-Addo-led government has not built a single hospital in 4 years of its tenure cannot be true. He says the commissioning of the Tolon District Hospital is a testament that truth will always triumph falsehood. Addressing the chiefs and people of Tolon in the northern region at the commissioning of a six-capacity district hospital, the Vice President said the Tolon District Hospital is one of the 6 district hospitals started 3 years ago by the government. He said government in the last 4 years has put up 844 infrastructure facilities in the health sector across the country, with 478 completed.
The Tolon District Hospital is one of 6 medical facilities which began 3 years ago. The construction began 3 years ago. And so, contrary to propaganda that our government has not put up any hospital over the last 4 years, today's event is testament to the fact that the truth always grows, but it always triumphs over falsehood. In fact, we have put up, or we are putting up as a government, 844 infrastructure facilities in the last 3 years. 844. And 478 of those facilities have been completed.
And the Joynews channel is where to stay on your election headquarters for everything election. And later this evening on this channel, we will bring you a story of greatness. We'll tell you the phenomenal, sustained and impactful life of the National Chief Imam of Ghana, Sheikh Osman Noor Shaributu.
If Nobel Peace Prize is perceived as the hallmark of, is it leadership? You should be entitled. I'm sure the people who have gotten Nobel Prizes that may not measure.
There is more when we return from the break. Welcome back to Joynews Prime on your election headquarters. The National Democratic Party says flag bearer Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings is still in the race to the Jubilee House. The party rubbished news stories suggesting that the flag bearer of the party had opted out of the presidential race to mourn former President Rawlings. The party says it is an attempt by elements within the opposition NDC to exploit the death of the country's longest-serving leader. At a press conference addressed by the party's Secretary General Alhaji Mohammed Frimpong here in Accra, the party also described former President Mahama and leading members of the NDC as hypocrites whose intentions are to benefit from the demise of the former President Jerry John Rawlings.
If John Mahama managed to profit from the death of President Mills, he should not be allowed to do same with the demise of our beloved President Rawlings, and Ghanaians should not and will not oblige him that. The hypocrisy of the NDC. When Jerry Rawlings was alive, John Mahama so desperately wanted to silence him. And now that JJ is no more, John Mahama finds it expedient to utilize his death to galvanize support for his weakening base within the NDC rank and file, and the country at large to salvage his 2020 campaign, which is going nowhere. Suddenly, the individuals in the NDC under the current leadership of John Mahama, who publicly vilified Jerry John Rawlings, have rediscovered a new voice proclaiming themselves to be the true adherents of his ideals. Those who publicly describe JJ using unpleasant words such as calling him a barking dog are now hailing him. Why? In what was widely reported by media outlets in Ghana, John Mahama during the NDC's unity walk in Ho, in the Volta region 2018, was on record to have labeled J.J. Rawlings as a Volta god with a small g, who did not deserve to be worshipped by Voltarians. In fact, he's quoted as saying, "We have worshipped the Volta god for so long. It is time to build a party beyond individuals. No sacrifice will please him." This was a classic situation where John Mahama made a futile attempt to turn Voltarians against their hero. It did not end there. Voltarians who felt they were going to be safe under the leadership of John Mahama were given the shock of their lives when Mahama deliberately sponsored candidates to remove all Voltarians from the leadership of the NDC during the national executive elections.
The party also accused the Mahama-led NDC of calculated attempts to run down the reputation of the late former president.
This press conference of the National Democratic Party has become necessary for three main reasons. First, to offer our support to Mrs. Rawlings, spouse of the late president and the flag bearer of the National Democratic Party. Second, to set the stage for true cadres and believers of Rawlings to reflect on his ideals and legacy. And third, to remind Ghanaians and those who loved Rawlings and stood with him all through the years, through thick and thin, to beware of those who turned their backs on President Rawlings when he was alive, and yet shockingly now seek to generate political advantage from his demise. Attempts to desecrate Rawlings' legacy before his death. Ladies and gentlemen, some curious events in the past few days have come to our attention, which show clearly that there are attempts by some elements to desecrate the legacy and the name of President Rawlings even upon his demise. These acts are being perpetrated by persons who have shown a desire to constantly humiliate Jerry John Rawlings and his family even when he was alive.
The NDC has since declined comments on these allegations, but meanwhile, the EU Observer Mission says it will be producing comprehensive updates on its observations, especially after voting day. The delegation of observers has arrived in the country. Here is Deputy Chief Observer Marianne Gabriel on what they have observed so far and what more should be expected of them in the coming days.
Obviously, they arrived as the mission at the beginning of November, and after some couple of days, we deploy our observers to all regions of Ghana. And what they started to observe, of course, is the campaign process, and they are also meeting election administration people at all regions and district offices, and getting the questions about voter registration, about the nomination of candidates, and of course any incidents of violence which might occur during the campaign process, etc. So we are now in the stage of observing campaign process and election preparations. We produce quite comprehensive analysis of the elections. For example, 2 days after election day, we normally publish a statement, some 10 pages long, and we are not just saying something positive or negative about the election process. We really analyze in deep what we think about voter registration, as I said, nomination, campaign, misuse of state resources, issues related to campaign finance, election day, voting, tabulation process, results process, etc. If you look at the 2016, there were a number of shortcomings in also, and many aspects of the election process were positive. So we will very carefully again look on the positive aspects, but also on those aspects which were not so good, and really analyze them again, so public can compare our report from 2020 and 2016, and maybe make their assessment if there is any progress in the elections, or in which part of the election process there is a progress, and if there is something which is more complicated or more negative than it was in 2016.
We'll take a break on Joynews. Prime Business comes up next with Charles Aite.
Hello there, it's now time for business. The Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, has maintained that threats to economic stability and COVID-19 forced the bank to keep the policy rate at 14.5%. Here is more in this report.
According to the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, looking at these threats to the economy, it was prudent to keep the rate at 14.5%.
If you look at the statement, we point out the risks from the fiscal side and also the uncertainty about the pandemic. Now, it is important that the budget is fully financed. And to keep the budget fully financed, you need an interest rate which is high enough to allow investors, including domestic investors, to be interested in buying government bonds.
On the Ghana City, the governor noted that they are building enough reserves to help deal with the expected first quarter pressure from next year.
I told you the last time we met that we are looking at building reserves of about 300 million. By the end of the year, we're still looking at that target of building 300 million this year. The question is whether that 300 million is sufficient to enable us to guarantee a very stable exchange rate in 2021. Obviously, it would help, but it would not be the only solution.
The Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, was optimistic that they would end the year with a well-stabilized banking sector and the Ghana City. This is due to some prudent monetary policy measures taken earlier this year.
Aggrieved customers of Black Shield, formerly called Gold Coast Fund Management, have rejected the government's new plan to pay up their locked-up funds. The group says the new arrangement is unfavorable and a disadvantage to those whose locked-up funds are beyond the 1 million cedi rank. Prince Appiah has more in this report.
For more than 2 years, customers of defunct fund management companies have had challenges accessing their funds. Government has announced payment of the locked up funds, but with 50,000 cedi cap. But aggrieved customers say the new payment processes are too cumbersome and will disadvantage its members. Spokesperson Charles Nyame says the payment processes have been rejected.
According to the Securities and Exchange Commission, they are released on the 18th. When you receive the text message as a Gold Coast Fund Management customer, it will come with a claim ID, and you have to log on to the internet to fill a form with this claim ID. After you fill the form and submit it, you come back home and wait for 5 working days. After the 5 working days, you receive a feedback. You take the feedback to Commercial Bank. Then you fill another form and wait for 5 working days again. After that, you get a feedback. You take the feedback to the bank again. After that, you come home and wait for 2 working days. Then you go and check if the money is in the account before you can withdraw. We have already taken our entrenched position. We have made the government aware, the Akufo-Addo government aware, that any payment plan that spans after the 7th December, the election day, we do not accept.
Leadership wants government to review its payment processes to capture those whose funds exceed 50,000 Ghana cedis. Mr. Nyame says government should at least pay 70% of funds exceeding 1 million cedis.
We accept the capped amount because we know that majority of the customers fall within it, fine. But yesterday we are standing as a family. We are pleading with another government that they should go back to the drawing board and find a proper way to meet this category of customers, either by 50% or 70% or 80%. But the capped amount wouldn't help.
The group suspects the New Patriotic Party is patronizing them for political expediency. Mr. Nyame says they will not agree to any arrangement that will go beyond December 7.
We believe that they just want to span the payment process to be after the election, to lure us to vote for them. After we voted for them, then they will come back to tell us that the court cases must finish before they pay us. We will not do that. What we are saying is that if we are not paid before 7 December, if we don't get our money as Gold Coast customers nationwide, we will vote against Akufo-Addo government.
Prince Apia reporting.
And that'll be all for Business. Sports is up next.
Thank you for joining us on The Sport. I'm Gary L. Smith. In our first story, the Confederation of African Football President Ahmad Ahmad, who announced his bid to seek re-election in the next CAF polls, cannot do so because he has been banned for 5 years by FIFA for breaching various codes of ethics. Now let's get more details on that. So that decision was communicated today, and it says that the decision-making body of the Independent Ethics Committee has found him and Vice President of FIFA, because that's what he's doing as well, guilty of violation of Article 15, that is the duty of loyalty, Article 20, offering an acceptance of gifts or other benefits, and Article 25, abuse of office of the FIFA Code of Ethics 2020, as well as Article 28, misappropriation of funds of the 2018 edition of the said code. And the investigation into Mr. Ahmad's conduct while serving as CAF president between 2017 and 2019 is related to various governance issues related to CAF, including the organization and financing of an Umrah pilgrimage to Mecca, his participation in CAF negotiations with the sports equipment company Tactical Steel, and other activities. And after a lengthy hearing, the decision-making body found that based on the information collected by the investigating body and in violation of the provisions of FIFA's Code of Ethics, Mr. Ahmad had failed in his duty of loyalty, offered gifts and other benefits, embezzled funds, and abused his position as president of CAF. Next up, in boxing, now the promotions company Box Office Promotions has launched what they call the Knockout COVID-19 Fight Night.
Ace Power Promotion have teamed up with Boxing Office Promotion to unearth boxing talent in Ghana. The event, which is scheduled for November 29, 2020, is under the theme Knockout COVID-19. CEO of Box Office Promotion, Alex Ntiamwa, has outlined the COVID-19 protocols the boxers will have to undertake before fighting on the night.
COVID-19 test is being catered for by government, and so we've written to the GBA with all the list. That's the reason why it's taking some time before we are able to announce the boxes, because you need to submit all the names. You know, sometime back you can have a show of which you can have a boxer against a TBA to be announced boxer, but now you need to submit all the names so that the GBA can be assured who and who will be fighting on the night. And then what they will do is they've written to the National Sports Authority, to the Sports Ministry. So a week before the show, they'll be tested and they have to be quarantined for a week before the fight, so that at least they will not be contaminated with other people. So that is what we have now. So we're looking, the next 4 days, they'll take the test and it will be a rapid test for them. And then we have to make sure we take care of them for some time before the fight. So actually that is the arrangement that we have for now.
Corporate Affairs and Legal Director for Ace Power Promotion, Kizito Akudago, who was also present at the launch of the boxing event, also had this to say.
The main aim of Ace is to promote boxing in Ghana and to give the young ones an opportunity to be able to unearth their talent in boxing. So this particular bout was organized with the main aim of giving them that platform to be able to exchange or at least prove their talent and ability in boxing. You know, Ghana, boxing has been one of our major sports. And for a long time now, we haven't had the opportunity of exhibiting that talent by letting or giving the exposure to the young ones to become world champions. So Ace is in the industry this time around to promote boxers and to be able to win a world champion for Ghana.
And that's it for the sport for today. Thank you for your time. I'm Gary Al Smith.
Podcast scientist Dr. Samuel Edujemfi says the new patriotic party should focus attention on strong campaigning at the grassroots to increase their chances in the Ashanti region in the upcoming elections. He says the NPP stands to lose votes if electors decide to make a choice based on rational voting. Nanaya Ojima has been looking at the debate on infrastructure development in the region and how it may influence votes.
Former President John Dramani Mahama, during his recent tour of the Ashanti region, reiterated his position that the NDC had performed better than the NPP in delivery of infrastructure development in the region. The opposition party points to the redevelopment of Kejitia Market, initiation of hospital projects, and construction of new senior high schools among its achievements.
2,700 projects no airway here.
The NPP should show us where the 2,700 projects done in the region are. Toilet facilities are not considered under government infrastructure. It should be a project that transforms lives like roads, huge markets and hospitals. They should show us where they are.
4 years, they've taken you for granted.
The NPP, however, insists the claims are unfounded. Founding member of the NPP, George Aisibuatin, touts the achievement of the party in diverse areas.
Ashanti is the highest beneficiary of the one district, one factory concept. We have 43 districts in the Ashanti region, and I know with God's blessings, when all these factories start working, who are the people to be employed? You know, people who live in the Ashanti region. Ashanti region is the highest beneficiary of free SHS. Look at the number of schools in Ashanti region. Ashanti region has more schools than all the other regions. So the roads that President Kufuor has contracted, rehabilitated, and continue rehabilitating them is massive.
Head of Political Science Department at KNUST, Dr. Edujemfi, observes the NPP is yet to redeem its promises to the Ashanti region.
And so the NPP will not sit down aloof, understanding that if they compare what is in their manifesto, the kind of promises they made, and the kind of votes that they harvested from the Ashanti and they took home with their political electoral baskets, comparatively, there is a need for the MPP to be worried, for them to come home and then do house to house, touch base with the people. And so I personally think that, yes, there might not be voter apathy. They will go out and block, sometimes a mass throng the place to vote. Not necessarily because of development, but because I think they have been committed in terms of their campaign, at least appealing to the sympathies, right? Appealing to the emotion and appealing to the voter party affiliation base, which is quite consistent within the region.
For Joynews, Nana Ojima reporting.
And that's it for the bulletin tonight. For more news, log on to myjohnline.com for all the updates of the developing stories. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Enjoy the rest of our programs.